Hi, everyone. We're back to our evolving consciousness, and we have Robin Landau, who is a master teacher of Marconics.
Hi,
Hi,
Robin.
Robin. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, ladies. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Thank Well, you. Tell us, what is Marconics? Uh,
Yeah, most people haven't heard about it because it is new. It's only been available on the planet since 2013,
okay.
and it relates actually to the shift that occurred at the end of 2012, the Mayan calendar prediction of the end of the world. We now know is really explaining that it was the end of the world as we knew it because we were shifting from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. So it was more of a paradigm shift. And when that occurred, the Earth repositioned itself on the planet and new energies became available, one of them being Marconics. And Marconics is really considered to be radio astronomy, and it's full spectrum, multidimensional ascension energy that is intelligently designed to assist us in activating the dormant spiritual DNA, which is one of the requirements for higher ascension.
And it was Allison who was channeling and was given the term Marconics, right? Because it did not exist prior to that we knew of.
Right. So Allison David Bird is the originator and custodian, and she was originally from the UK, and she migrated to the United States and opened up a tea shop um, on Martha's Vineyard, and actually became a hypnotherapist. And it was through a hypnotherapy session over many years, actually, that the Pleiadians came through in that session and described the state of the planet and why the light workers weren't going to be ready for the shift. And she was asked to be the custodian of Marconics uh, to assist us. And Marconics, the name Marconics, we had to name it something because we work with our labels here, is really from Marconi. And Marconi is the European version of our Tesla. And Marconi was the one that was able to harness radio waves for long distance communications. And then, as we know, we can also use radio waves for healing. So it just made sense to call it
They
that.
say Marconi invented the radio, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so even the name Marconics, people will be triggered by that because it's really just a remembering. It's
Ah,
remembering this is energy that we used to have access to, but we weren't ready to anchor it in until that shift at the beginning of 2013.
And this
mhm.
movement is to help people get ready for this, right? To help people.
Well, it accelerates, right? So it's not the only path up the mountain. There are many new
Sure.
energies that are coming on the planet's surface now, but it is the only, we can actually claim that it is really the only energy healing modality that achieves higher ascension. We're all ascending. We're all raising our consciousness. When you think about, what is ascension? What is higher, dimension? Dimensions is just higher states of consciousness.
Sure.
You go from kindergarten to grad school. And when you embody that information, you just have a higher state of awareness. And we can operate from a place of love instead of operating from fear, which is what we've been riddled with
Mhm.
for eons of time now. And you can see what's playing out is triggering that fear and keeping people from achieving it's our human right. It's our right to be able to become sovereign beings, free cosmic citizens of the universe. So Marconics is here to assist and accelerate. It's like pulling off the band-aid. And many that have been waiting, like myself, I've been on a search, waiting for something like this. We didn't know what it was going to be,
Mhm.
but to me, this system makes a lot of sense. And it puts the client in the driver's seat, which is my favorite part.
Talk about how you
That's-
got started with this.
Yeah.
So I went to conventional upbringing, went to college thinking I was going to be CEO of some big corporate American company. And, universe clearly had another plan for me. And when I was in college, I took a couple of classes that changed the course of my life. One of them being a humanities class, The Undiscovered Self. And I was like, wait a second, there are other people that have the same thoughts as me and then I started reading books and I really had no one to speak to about this. I mean, certainly my upbringing, no one was into the metaphysical stuff. Not that I knew that that's what it was, but I was just very sensitive to energy. So massage was just something my family did naturally. Was on the swim team in high school, touchy-feely. So I became a massage therapist actually after college, as a plan B because I could not get the job in corporate America.
Yeah.
And then that once I made that choice, then the teachers started to appear, and I just kept following the breadcrumbs. And then in 2008, I started to experience a lot of joint pain in my hands, in my ankles, and my knees. And as a massage therapist, that's your worst nightmare. How am I going to do this? And so I needed a plan B. And now that I know that 2008 was one of those buzz years where it was an activation year. So those were actually ascension symptoms, but I didn't know that. So I went back to school for interior design just because it was something that I was interested in and I wanted to start being, more creative. My children were at that age where I could do more. And as much as I love massage, I just had a need to express myself. Well, that then I became an instant interior designer because of Sandy. I live in a beach community on Long Island, and so I was thrown into it. But what I was noticing is that a lot of my massage clients hired me to be their interior designer. I was noticing energetic signatures. So if they were coming to me with anxiety and depression, I would actually go into their home and I could feel that same energetic signature.
Right.
That led me to the feng shui aspect. And it was actually my feng shui teacher who had heard about Marconics. And this was in 2016. And when I read their first book, I every cell in my body lit up and my dreams became more lucid. And I just knew that this was my next pile of breadcrumbs. And I never looked back. I didn't expect to be a teacher of it. But the call was so strong, I couldn't deny it. And here I am as a master teacher now and on
After,
the core team, working closely with Allison and Lisa.
that's incredible. After you read your first book, did you then go join a session? Did you join a group session? What was
I
that?
did. I never even felt the energy. I went right into the classes. And I was on the first class that was available was sold out. I put myself on a waiting list, which I didn't get in. But then, as we now know, everything works in divine order.
Sure.
And I was put in the exact right class, met my soul family in that class. And then I was in that fast lane after that. I just went through all the levels, and still did not think I was going to be a teacher, even though they were opening that up to people. I'm like, no, I think I'm not, because to be a teacher, that's another level of commitment. And but then the universe was like, I was working with tuning forks and I would have to give all that up. And I heard clearly, Robin, you are the tuning fork. You don't need the tools anymore. You need to, this is your calling. And I was always a teacher in some capacity. Even when I was a massage therapist, I specialized in lymphatic drainage for lymphedema, which is after breast cancer surgery. And so I was teaching in that realm. So I was always teaching something, but this is my calling for sure.
And so, Robin, the sessions that you do with people are healing sessions, is how you refer to them, correct?
Well, they're not your traditional healing sessions because
Right.
we do not focus on the physical. Our job is we're in the business of getting people out of fear. And the only way that we can do that is to help them clear the karma and density and static. that's in their emotional and mental bodies. And then as an organic byproduct, the physical is going to heal. Because if you think about it, we're just a series of harmonic templates. That's really what we're made of. And nothing becomes a physical manifestation until it's already affected the
Oh, yeah,
emotional and
sure.
mental bodies. And we know that the chakra system, right,
Mhm.
is what houses and holds those emotions. But because our chakra systems were dumbed down, it's very hard to process that. And then you start to believe the stories that are playing out. So yes, we do call it a healing energy system, but it's ascension energy to get us to be a vibrational match so that we can then anchor this new energy that's coming in to help heal ourselves.
And so during a
And
session, are you directing, you're holding the space? Are you, because I had a session
Mhm.
with you, I experienced it, and I'll share what I experienced. But as the practitioner, and it was a remote healing,
Yeah, I'm sure.
right? So this was done that way, and I'll share in a minute what I experienced. But are you as a practitioner directing the energy, or
No,
because
you're holding the space.
No, we're actually, this is one of my favorite things, knowing that I was always just a conduit for the energy,
Mm.
to keep the energy in its purest form. We do not get the ego involved. So as a intuitive healer, I would always get messages when I was doing my massages or any other healing.
Mm.
With Marconics, I don't even have to turn it off. We don't get any intuitive hits. We don't intend or direct the energy in any way because it's not my business to know what you need in your healing session. We actually connect with the client's higher self,
Mhm.
and it's the higher self and their team that is orchestrating the session. And that is where we're going now with healing, because it's egoic of any healer to think that they know what a person needs, because it has to go through our filters. It
Right.
can only be based off of what I'm able to align with. We just go straight to the Godhead. Let the higher self orchestrate the session, because who knows better than you what you need in your healing journey?
Mhm.
so
And the sessions vary in length, right? It's just when it's done kind of thing.
I'm sorry, Deb, what'd you
I
say?
was saying, and the sessions vary in length, or do
No, well, it will vary in length only if the practitioner is counting faster or slower. But everyone does the protocol exactly as we were trained to do. And there are counts that we do when we hold each one. So we don't like, oh, this feels good, I'm going to stay here a little longer.
okay.
So it only varies in length depending on the practitioner's,
Okay, yeah,
counting
that's interesting.
speed.
And is that because you're tuning to different vibrations while you're going to this timing and then this timing? Are you
Yeah, what are you counting?
No, so this is Marconics is multidimensional and full spectrum. So it has everything in it. If you want to think about like piano keys of chords,
Mhm.
like you have notes and chords, so it's every key in the piano. Or if you think about it as a rainbow spectrum, like let's say something people know what Reiki is. So let's say Reiki would be one 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 color in the red bandwidth, right? But Marconics is not only every color of the rainbow, but it's every bandwidth of every color. It's already built into the system. So if the client needs the Reiki ray or any other frequency for that matter, the higher self is going to pull in whatever frequency is necessary in that session. So it's not that we're directing, or it's not like the protocol is, oh, now we're pulling in this, or now we're pulling in this. No, what we're actually doing is we're affecting the axiotonal system. And if you think about the axiotonal system as a meridian system that's off the body, just like an acupuncture meridian system is on the body, but this system has been dormant. It exists, but it's like new plumbing it's like plumbing in a new home that's never been turned on. So the water has never ran through it, or the light has never run through it. But now, because of what Marconics is able to anchor, we activate the axiotonal system, and it's coming from outside of this matrix. It's
Mm.
coming outside of the Milky Way galaxy. It's coming from from our point of origin, our universe of origin. Where'd we come from before we came in for this experience? So it's a little different than anything that was created prior to 2012 is only pulling in from under the grid.
Well, right, because
Right.
2012 and prior, the older energy, the Pisces energy was thicker and denser, and that is why, right, the chakras were just limited. And now with the new energy that comes in, and when Marconics came in, it is it's a different energy that is presenting itself.
Well, it's a different energy because of where we are. So,
Mhm.
so at the dumbing down process was because we were in the planet was phase locked. And so when we fell from Tara, when we were having our Atlantean Lemurian experience, right? Before we were humans in 3D, we were actually multidimensional beings that had a multidimensional light body configuration where our chakras were a series of nesting spheres working as a single unified organ. Our morphogenetic fields was a 360-degree of 30 feet or larger, right? And so when we fell from grace, when we fell from that experience of our being on a fifth dimensional planet on our way to a seventh dimensional experience, we were dumbed down in a sense because of the phase locking in this universal structure. And it was done as kindness because we weren't able to actualize all of our gifts and abilities. And so it's like if you want to think of it as taking your pet bird and clipping its wings so that it could go from the back of the couch to the back of the chair, but not fly away for its own safety. The same thing for us. We needed time to incubate the light. And so we were dumbed down so that we can clear our karma and learn how to um, be more in that love frequency and then fear. But the problem is, and here's the caveat, is that we failed this ascension 6 other times.
Oh,
And
hmm.
if you think about it, it takes an age for the alignments to be just, which is every 26,000 years. So that's a lot of time that
Yeah.
we've been in this state. And because of the veil of amnesia, we forgot our covenant. We forgot why we came here in the first place.
Well,
Mm.
we have in each past attempt, and each past group has the veil of amnesia and has forgotten, right? And had to start over again.
Right.
We
Well, we
passed
have to,
we passed in 2012, and I think we talked about this a little bit. We're in new territory, right?
right?
So
But this is a free will universe,
yes,
Right.
right? So this is a free will universe. So you have to choose this, right? So everyone's ascending. We're all in this 4D corridor at this time,
Mm.
waiting to get and actualize a fifth dimensional reality. And we're all in this 4D corridor, and there are gradients within that 4D corridor. The lower portion of that 4D corridor is considered the phantom matrix, and that's where actually heaven resides, and also the fallen angelic realm is there as well. And you don't want to be lingering in those lower gradients. The middle and upper gradients of that 4D corridor is what we consider the living light matrix, the organic path or timeline that will get us to clear our karma and get us to be able to meet all the requirements to get through that 4D corridor. But it's a free will universe. You have to choose it. And
Mhm.
then the other thing is you need to maintain and sustain your vibration. And what's happening is a lot of light workers are raising their vibration and then they'll do
Yeah,
something
it
and
doesn't, they don't.
vibration. And so there's this yo-yo, and that is not
Hmm.
sustaining what is required to then get up the next rung on that Jacob ladder style of ascension. Because think about what's happening here. Most of us have this understanding that we refracted to have our experience, right? So we start out as this whole diamond, and then when we decided to come in for experience, our essence then refracted and left a piece of ourselves in every dimensional structure. And you and I and everyone else on the planet chose to have our experience in the density of 3D
Mhm.
and this human soul carrier with the veil of forgetfulness and a dumbed down chakra system.
I know why.
And
I know,
Very
it's right.
much.
that was
Right.
it was for the can we take these multidimensional beings,
Wow.
do all these, the put these distortions and limitations on them, and can they find their way back? That was that was the
That was the
task.
plan, yeah.
That was the task, but with the veil of forgetfulness and with all the distortions, and now with fear infiltrating, it's very difficult. And there's a reason for this. There's a reason because we abused our power and other soul carrier experiences. You have the Mars experience, you have the Venus experience, you have the Tara experience. Some people relate to, Egypt. We have a lot of this going on, and because of the phase locking, we have been on in a rinse and repeat. When you think about the infinity sign, it's not going anywhere. It's a doom to eventually just consume itself. And when you think about the phase locking, that this universal structure, the Milky Way galaxy, when the original sin happened, all that miasma, all that abuse of our power came with it. And it's in the core of all the planets that make up our galaxy. So we never started at zero. We always had karma, and we've been pulling it in through our chakra system and not being able to clear it because of the distortions and the damage.
I did. We talked about that a little bit. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So Deb is saying, she and I have talked about you can release karma with this new energy. And I think you and I had talked about that a little bit, and you have a perspective on that it can be done, but so can you talk
Well,
about
yeah,
that a
it's
little bit?
limited. Yeah, sure. So it's limited. So what happened was with the chakra system being nipped, and now there are these seven conical trumpet-shaped individual chakras, they're not working together. The other thing is that to clear the karma, the way that you're doing it is you are merging with and integrating with those other aspects of yourself. So as you raise your vibration, you become a vibrational match, and then you're integrating those aspects of yourself that are in the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, and the ninth dimension we have access to. 10, 11, and 12 have been hijacked. And so the aspects of ourselves in those dimensional structures, it's not safe for us to be able to align with them from here. Marconics, throughout the work that Allison and Lisa have done, have created a safe path, like a bridge, like a back door in a sense, so that we can retrieve those aspects of ourselves and clear the karma from those gradients as well. So, yes, there are many ways to clear karma here, but in order to get through that 4D corridor, one of the requirements is you need to clear 100% of your karma. And that is, and from this vantage point is not accessible to us. It's not possible for us. And so the quantum recalibration which is one of our protocols. What that does is it actually returns your light body back to its multidimensional state, back to those series of nesting spheres working as a single unified organ, plugs you back into that axiotonal system so that you're reconnected to the source that created you outside of this universal structure. And then you also get the upgrade in your light body. You go from that Star of David double star tetrahedron configuration, right? That's how our consciousness moves, right? The two triangles to the quantum light body or Merkaba, which is the double octahedron, which is a diamond shape, which actually allows you to get to those higher dimensions so that you can pull in those aspects of yourself for healing, because we are the anchor. We being in the lowest dimension in this in this galaxy that we take form, right? The core of the planet is the gases. The second dimension is the telluric realm where all the emotions are held, and then third dimension is where we took form. So we are the anchor. We hold the stargates through our chakra system, and that's how they come in for healing. Now, only those aspects of ourselves that are choosing higher ascension like we are can merge with us, because otherwise we can then be taken over by those other aspects of ourselves. Does
So
that
it
that
does.
one?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So Marconics will help someone
Yeah.
vibrate to that place where they can be. Now, how long does this process take? Is it different for everyone? Is it
Well, the protocol itself is a 2-day process. It's about an hour for each of those appointments. They can be done on consecutive days or at least 72 hours between those 2 days. Then it's the process. So for the first 4 weeks, we say don't get any energy work done at all. It's like we consider it psychic surgery. So you want that time to heal and integrate those higher frequencies, and it's like when you're on a diet, you tend to lose those a lot of pounds in those first 2 weeks. So the activations happen. The first thing that occurs is the decalcification of the pineal pituitary gland, which are actually organs that have been atrophied by the fluoride in our water, in our toothpaste, and in our water,
right? We're
Yeah.
exposing us.
preservatives, all of that. It's all part of that, because once this gets activated again, that then triggers the upper galactic heart that is housed in the thymus gland, as well as the galactic chakras that are behind the neck, including, in the occipital, which is considered the well of dreams or the mouth of God. And when that gets turned on, then we drop the left and right brain are starting to merge. We're healing that. We're getting out of that ego, linear thinking mind, and we're dropping into the heart space. And this is now where we start to operate from art. This is where we discern our truth. This is where we connect to our higher selves at the Godhead, so that we only follow the breadcrumbs that keeps us on the safe path, so that we can merge with ourselves at that God level and achieve sovereignty.
Hi, Deb and I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you for watching. We hope that you're enjoying our guests, and we wanted to say please remember to subscribe below, like us, send us a
Yeah,
comment.
and let us know if there's anybody you want to hear from, and we'll try to get them on.
So I recently had a session, albeit it was a condensed session, but should I be expecting to experience in the physical changes as you just described over the
Well,
next
so what you received was the no touch. And so the no touch is our foundational protocol, which is like, just like Reiki, you can keep receiving. And the difference between a Marconic session and something like Reiki is that you would never power down back to zero. You always keep that incremental bump up in your frequency. Just, where Reiki, you kind of power down, you go back into density and you start absorbing again, and you power down. With even if you were just to get no touch and not the recal, it would still benefit you. You would still feel the ascension symptoms. You would still be clearing karma, clearing the static, clearing the density. But your chakra systems were not manipulated back to its multidimensional state. So you're still working with those 7 conical individual trumpet-shaped chakras. So it limits what you can, the clearing that you can do. Once you're recalibrated, that's permanent. It's a one and done. Once you're recalibrated, you do not get recalibrated again. But that being said, as Allison loves to say, you don't go and start running with scissors. There's responsibility on your end about that you wouldn't want to start pulling in frequency that is because you're working on a different operating system after that point. So
Okay.
you're going to want to be mindful of, you know, how you conduct yourself, who you're hanging out with. I can't be in restaurants with busy bars anymore. It's too
Yeah.
toxic. That's where those lower entities love
It is what
to
it is.
getting your goosies. Yeah. So that's where lower entities love to hang around. And if you become a vibrational match, and it only takes one thought, one lower fear-based thought where you can become a vibrational match to something, and then they can attach themselves to you. And then before you know it, you start to spiral down.
Robin, I assume that the mission of the work is to help as many people as you can, right? And I recognize that not everyone is ready for this. However, most people do not know about this until they know about it. And right? So how there's a lot of education that has to go on here because there may be people who are ready for it who have no idea about how the universe works and
Right.
even that, there are different levels of consciousness and we're about they may not even know any of this, but they may be ready. So what is the education process before, bringing someone in and doing the work?
Well, we're really big on the educational aspect of this. We're really big on the spiritual hygiene aspect. So anyone that comes in for either no touch or the recalibration, we have booklets that share all the spiritual hygiene about how can you protect your energy? How do you prevent yourself if you're an empath of
Picking
picking
up.
up stuff or
Yeah.
pulling things in that doesn't belong to you. And a lot of empaths do that because
Yeah.
it makes them so uncomfortable. It's just easier. So that's the first thing is that we're really big on the educational aspect. Plus, we have classes, and not everyone, you don't need to be intending or be in private practice as a healer to come through the classes. We have many people that come through the classes for their own spiritual growth, for their own spiritual
Sure.
because they want to understand. And we know that you could read all these books, you can have all this information, but if you don't walk through it, it
Right.
never becomes wisdom. And when you have an understanding of how this universe was created, that it was created in a system in fall, it's not an organic matrix. And if we don't raise ourselves high enough to be able to align with the living light matrix, then we are going to eventually go down because what's going on is that the planet that has a morphogenetic field just like us, and we were created in a closed loop. It's self-fed. So we each have quantum energy in our morphogenetic field that allows us to reincarnate, right? So each cycle you use up quantum energy. The planet, when she was hit with the atomic bomb in World War II, doesn't is running out of quantum. She can't host us. And if you get caught on that timeline, you're going to supernova like a star. Now, as far as Prime Creator is concerned, that's a valid experience because it all gets rolled back up to Prime Creator, right? Back to source.
Mhm.
But Deb and Dina and Robin, if we get caught up in that, we lose our sense of individualized essence and we lose the memory and everything else of all of our 600 to 900 lifetimes that we had. And then you have to start again as that spark of essence in the core of a planet and then graduate to that second dimension until you can take form again and wherever your next experience is. So that's the difference is that there's God realized, authentic ascension, and then there's ascension where you are, yeah, you can stay, but you will supernova and you will lose who you are as an essence being.
And what is next for us with Ascension? Assuming that we do ascend, what is next for us?
Yeah. Well, the goal here is sovereignty. So when Allison merged with Grace Elohim, so Grace Elohim, the Elohim are the creator gods, and Grace Elohim was the designer of the Human 2.0 template, what we know as the meat suit that we exist in now, where we all know that we're more than the meat suit, we're this
Yeah.
essence. So and when Grace merged with Allison, so Grace is Allison's oversoul. That was the birth of the Avatar race. So if you've seen the movie Avatar, you understand that there are higher versions of us
Mhm.
that are existing, and that's the goal, is to be able to merge with that higher version of us. So the goal is to go from this free will universe that we've existed in to a new experience, which we're calling divinely inspired free will, where you're taking the best of your human experience, all your 600 to 900 lifetimes, and merging that with the best of who you are in the higher realms, the best of yourself as in divinity, and so that you will only make the higher choices from a place of love and not fear.
Yeah. Okay.
That is sovereignty, and
Yes.
that
That is,
we're
yeah.
not all choosing that, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay,
So
because not
how can,
everyone is even soul contracted for that.
oh, okay. I was gonna say, how can people, are there things that people can do on their own to get there? Are there things that, yeah,
So think about it like this. So we understand that quantum physics is saying time is not linear. Past,
right,
present, and future all happening together, right?
right,
And it's now one now moment. But we're all, like, you hear the expression of old souls and young souls
yeah,
and all of that. So we didn't all come in at the same inception point.
right.
There are some that are behind us in the time track. There are some that are, ahead of me on the time track.
Mhm.
And so, Mark, what Marconics is doing is we keep coming around the time track and hitting these inception points and pulling the next um, wave of volunteers that are like waking up and saying, "Don't leave me."
Yeah,
And they're blowing their whistle and they're flashing their light and they're grabbing on, and we're pulling them up. And that's what we're doing. But you have to ask. You
yeah.
have to ask and you have to do the work. And that's the other thing about light workers, feeling guilt and shame about charging for their services. But that's why, we failed those 6 other ascension cycles, because light workers weren't able to
To
afford
live, yeah,
themselves,
we
and had to
know.
go back to their 3G jobs. And that
Yeah,
and that's where
right.
the problem is. Until we have to start valuing ourselves and
Mhm.
what we're doing, and there has to be some skin in the game. So we're not akin to selling gift certificates for a massage, because this is something that people have to choose.
Yeah,
And there has to be an energetic exchange.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but are there things that people can do individually though to raise their vibration or,
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say that Marconics is more than just an energy healing system. It's a philosophy. It's a
Mhm.
roadmap. It's a way. It's a way for people to start to navigate life in a different way. And so, read the books. They're light encoded. They're kind of behind me. The first one is The Clarion Call. The second one is Angels of Atlantis. They were written by Alison David Bird and Lisa Wilson, and that will start to help you navigate from a different vantage point, to understand that, you know, um, forgiveness is something that really isn't even necessary anymore if you start taking responsibility and understanding that everything that happens to us has already been soul contracted in the higher realms, and everyone's just playing a role for us, whether that be the catalyst or, there's no more victimhood you can't play that card anymore. You
Mhm.
have to start sitting in that driver's seat and taking responsibility for ourselves.
Is this movement is worldwide?
It is. We're actually we're global. We're in Japan, very big movement in Japan. We're in the UK, we're across Europe, Canada, and all over the United States. Yep.
What message would you give? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but what message would you give to light workers? Because there are light workers who are, I think, experiencing difficulties using the modalities that they have used for years, right? The energy changed, and so those things don't work the same way anymore. And it can be
Right.
discouraging, and they are out there for attack. So what message would you give?
That's a great one. I personally experienced that. Just like many light workers, I was filling my toolbox and trying to find the next greatest thing because I was finding I kept hitting ceilings and I could feel the energy, but I wasn't able to anchor it in.
Hmm.
Um, and that's why light workers keep layering their practices, throw in a biomat,
Right.
some tuning forks, sprinkle some crystals around, even maybe
Yeah.
some fairy dust.
Everybody does like a
And
mix. Mhm.
yeah, and so when I found Marconics, it because it has everything built into it, and there's no intuitive hit, so I don't the responsibility of healing the client is no longer there, which is
Hmm.
the greatest feeling. It frees you up that the client is now responsible. Um, and what I would say is really check your ego
Mhm.
because a lot of healers, and myself included, I had very large following with my tuning fork work and as a massage therapist. And I've done it all. I really have done it. Anything
Yeah,
that was,
sounds like it.
Robert Brennan's work is how I started. Same thing with Allison. We've all had our journey and it all got me to here. And we're not saying that Marconics is better because all those other energy modalities are still needed because, like I shared,
Mhm.
everyone's coming in at a different inception point. They may
Right.
not be ready for this yet.
Right.
But if you're feeling you're hitting a ceiling, if you're feeling keep needing to layer, because obviously those other modalities are not working, because if they were, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in.
Right.
And Marconics works. I mean, I know Allison proved it. Allison has ascended out. She is opening those gates, keeping them open, and the path is cleared and safe. And each time we pull in more practitioners, we're widening that path for others to follow behind us. And so light workers need to really start to understand that where we're moving, this new paradigm, the way that the fifth dimensional body template is not going to, it's the other modalities are just not going to work on it. It's just not going to be enough.
Okay. Very fascinating.
It is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah,
There's a
different
lot there.
approach.
There's yeah.
Yeah.
And it does, people really push back against that because they've been doing what they've been doing, or
Yeah.
um, and but if that's why I'm saying check the ego, because if you're getting a sense it's not enough, uh,
Mhm.
getting that feeling, then maybe this is your next pile of breadcrumbs. That's how it was for me.
Right. And it's more for practitioners, you're saying. Like it's
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't need to call yourself a
oh, okay.
traditional healer,
Yeah,
or,
because
or
people are
plan or intend to open up
right.
a physical practice. You can just do this for family and friends
Right.
if you,
Right.
and we teach you how to do it on yourself. And that's the whole point, is that as a sovereign being, you don't need anything anymore outside of yourself. In fact, once you reach the Aqualux level of our protocols, we actually instruct our students, you shouldn't be receiving energy from anyone else anymore. You should be doing it for yourself. And we also have movement protocols that help move the energy through. This is about sovereignty. That we're not your gurus. You're not here to follow us anymore. You need to become your own guru. And the only way you do that is to make that connection to yourself
Which
at your
is
own
what
Godhead.
a lot of people have been saying for years,
Yeah. Well,
honestly.
But there's a misunderstanding, because if people say, well, source is directing me and my higher self, but
Yeah.
you have to understand that there's a higher self in every dimensional structure.
Mm.
And the first step is to get to your higher self in that eighth dimension, which is the higher self that you came in with, that's
Mm.
been orchestrating your experience here. And once you merge with that higher self, you then need to get to the next level, which is that avatar
Mm.
consciousness higher self, so that you can get to your Godhead higher self, which is in those Rishi dimensions of 13, 14, and 15, which is outside of this universal structure. And that's what we have not been able to achieve till now. And we're able to achieve this is because the mother arc feminine energies are now available on the planet. You see, the magnetics were hidden in the core of the planet, which is how we got our gravity. And the electrical was on the planet's surface, which is why we've had such a patriarchal society the last 26,000 years. But after COVID, the mother arc energies became available to us again. And that is what completes the electrical horizontal father arc, the Christos, and the vertical magnetic feminine in the vertical arc, which is what we have not been able to align with, which is why we've just been moving like this, but we haven't been able to move up the vertical arc of vertical time in that mother arc, the magnetics. And that's why the return of the divine feminine, it's not about goddessy energy, and it's about the mother arc being able to be here so that it can merge with the father arc and activate the multidimensional kundalini so that the feminine and masculine aspects of ourself get healed. That's what
Is that Marconics and magnetics? Because magnetics came in around the around the convergence, right? It was about 89 when that started to come into the planet. So I don't.
we weren't able to harness them.
Okay.
So that we weren't able to pull them in because it wasn't safe. The reason why we failed the 6 ascension cycles and why we needed to be dumbed down is because if we would have tried to exit, and if you're not a vibrational match, we would have fried. We would have destroyed ourselves as an essence, and we would have
As
been.
the six civilizations had before us, right?
Say that again, Dina.
As the 6 civilizations on this planet had before us, they tried and couldn't do it.
Exactly. They were unsuccessful.
Right.
Exactly. And the reason why is because and that's why the um the Ark of the Covenant was removed at that time. That's why they weren't able to do it, because the mechanism to be able to achieve it was not available to them until now. But there's requirements and be able to use them. Just like a rocket ship that if the integrity of that rocket ship is not in place, it's not going to make it through the atmosphere, right? So that's just kind of the same thing. We will do no harm. That's first and foremost. And so your higher self will not activate you if it is not safe, sanctioned, and appropriate for you.
Oh, that's good.
And that's the
Right.
whole point of this.
Yeah.
There's something much bigger than ourselves orchestrating.
Right.
And
Right.
each of us need to align and get that connection to ourselves at that Godhead. And our only job is to make sure there's no holes in our field, which will then prevent us from activating that spiritual DNA so that we can align with this energy. Because if you're not, here's the thing, the energy is coming down on the planet's surface.
Mhm.
Depending on where you are, you're either going to help anchor it, which is assisting the ascensions
Process.
progression, right? That's how one way of doing it. Or if you come in and become a Marconics practitioner, then you act as a bridge, because when we're able to be a conduit for the energy, it comes through us and enters into our client's field. That's how it's working.
How long is the training to be?
The level 1 is a 2 full day
Yeah, oh,
So
training.
that's part of the training. Okay.
The
Okay.
level 1 is the no touch, and that
Right.
is a 2-day training. And the level 2, which incorporates the integrated chakra unification, which is returning back to that multidimensional state with the quantum recalibration, which is the upgrade in the light body. That's a 3-day.
Okay.
So together it's a 5-day intensive, or you can take the levels separately. And then there's we offer teacher-led shares and opportunities to get together with your fellow classmates to
Yeah.
practice and all of that. And then there's a private Facebook group with Alice and Lisa that where all the information then gets shared.
Right.
Well, there's a
Sounds
lot to learn.
There
There's
is
a
a
lot
lot.
to
It's
share.
a
There
whole
is a lot.
idea
Well,
for, I think, a lot of people.
It's also pulling together so many philosophies and understandings that are becoming prevalent in this world, right? That are coming out from different places. So it's fascinating, and
Great work you're doing.
I enjoyed experiencing
Mm.
what I did experience, and I will look into it further. So
Well, what did you experience, Dina? We really didn't get into the nitty-gritty of that.
So I was told not to have shoes on, to be in a quiet place, not to have crystals,
Mhm.
not to have my phone near me,
Right,
and to just be quiet, not to set any intentions,
right.
and to just, which is so for me, what happened was what happens when I'm in a deep meditation is that I went to a place of being aligned with what felt like my higher self, and I felt myself dissolve into oneness. I felt like I was being pulled apart, but not in a painful way, and just dissolving into everything.
Nice.
And so I got up and I said,
Mm.
okay, so I aligned and went to oneness is how I felt. It was quick. I mean, it wasn't quick, but I mean, I honestly don't know how long I stayed in that,
Mm.
but it was maybe 40 minutes, 30 minutes, something, 35, 40, something like that.
Mhm.
But it was complete. And when it was complete, and after that, I was awake. So I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I-
in that period, so
I was having mine. Didn't really-
I'm sorry,
I
Deb,
said I
what?
just felt peaceful when I had my
Yeah, a
son.
lot of people have claimed. So so my favorite thing is, is not feeling like I'm in a body, which I guess is the way you're describing it, Dina.
Yeah.
It was like and that is to me is the most freeing thing, that we are so not
Yeah, the body, yes.
like, yeah, exactly, that we're not
Right.
Yeah.
confined to this.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, though, that you in that session, even though from my perspective it was only 15 minutes long, just to let
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
Yeah,
but you got the feelings of it lasted a lot long. That's why we don't want to put a time constraint. And that's why we also say, you get in touch with us afterwards, so that in case you want to have some time to embody the experience of it, you know, you can do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that part at first, so I apologize for that.
Yeah. So we don't want to put a time on it, but you reach out to us. And then, but you cleared karma, you had that opportunity and density, and most people just feel lighter and brighter. And
right.
if you feel lighter and brighter, then you're going to make choices in a much from
Of
a higher
course, right.
vibrational
It's kind
point.
of
And
simple.
that's that. And then you do better. When you know better, you do better, and you start
Yes.
responding instead of reacting. I mean, we have people that only had no touch with no recalibration, and they've completely changed their life, left jobs that were not unfulfilling, left relationships that were toxic, went from abusing alcohol to then not
Yeah, no.
wanting any of it. So, and
Good.
that's just from the no touches, because when that's static, when you understand of why the stories come in, why that density, why do we make those poor choices for ourselves, those self-sabotaging storylines,
Mhm.
it's not necessary anymore when you're operating from a much higher vantage point, from a
Right.
So
vibration.
I guess we have to see, I should be aware of what's yet to come. And
Yeah,
I should report
Yeah.
back to you. So
absolutely.
you're going to get a call
Right.
from me as I guess we go through the next few days and
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for being on with us. This was really enlightening.
Thank you.
Like, yeah.
Thank you.
Fascinating, and I
Yeah,
will
it
be
is
following
fascinating.
up.
A little bit different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should talk again.
I would love to. Yeah, we can dive real deep with this.
Okay.
We can start talking about more of the quantum level of why, how is this happening, as well.
Good.
So
Well,
Yeah, that
thank
would be
anyone watching this has a lot to look into and a lot
right.
to learn. So I think
So I like that.
there was plenty here. I mean, there was a
Mhm.
tremendous amount. So
Yeah. So thank
yeah,
you.
that was great. We'll do it again.
thank you.
Okay.
All right. Take
Take
care.
care, Robin.
And we'll see you next
Okay.
time.